In today's video, we're going to be building a Substack alternative with WordPress. So the first thing you'll need to do is set up your integration. We'll hover over Mail Opt-in and go to integrations. I'm going to be using MailChimp, which is already connected. And we have links to tutorials on how to set up these integrations on our channel. So feel free to check them out. On the left, we'll go to opt-in campaigns and we're going to add a new one. Today, we're going to be using a slide in opt-in and we'll need to name it. So I'm going to call it campaign 1. And we can just go ahead and use the first template. And that's going to open up the opt-in builder where we'll see a preview of our opt-in on the right-hand side and we'll see our settings on the left. So in the design tab, we have some options to change the opt-in's width. We can also add a display effect from this list. In addition to that, we can change background color, border color, and add custom CSS. We can also click directly on elements to open its settings on the left. So if we want here, we can go ahead and customize our headline. I'll change the text. So let's also customize our description. So I'm going to click on it and paste my own text. Okay, so now we can also go ahead and move on to the options for our email fields. And there we can choose to use custom HTML. We can display only a call to action button, or we can use the standard fields. For example, here's the name field, and right below we have the email field, or you can add a custom field. So we're going to go ahead and change our button label. For this example, we'll make it subscribe. If you want, you can change your buttons colors and font, but for this example, we're just going to keep the default options. Okay, so now we can move on. Let's go and exit out of this menu, and we'll go to the configurations tab. So here we have options to change the slide in position. We can hide the close button. We can disable the escape key. We have an option for sound effects and cookie durations. We'll keep the default options and move on to integrations. So if you're not using email marketing software, you can choose to keep your leads inside of Mail Opt-in. However, in our case, we'll connect a new integration to this campaign. We'll use MailChimp, and then we'll select our email list from the drop-down menu. So it's going to be this one, and we could use a tag. Let's call it example. Now, right below, we'll see an option to disable double opt-in. We're going to keep that off, and we'll go back and move on to after conversion. And this is what happens after a lead converts. We're showing a success message which says, "Thank you for subscribing." Okay, now moving on, we have display rules, and this is where we can set up a trigger for our opt-in. We'll use after X seconds, and in this case, X will be 6 seconds. Now we're going to activate the rule, save our changes, and once our changes are saved, we can then turn on the opt-in. Now we'll click on the X to exit out of this, and then we'll go ahead and test it out. So right now we just want to go ahead and visit our website in a new tab. And once the page opens, we'll just have to wait 6 seconds like we configured. And then we should see our slide in opt-in. Here it is. So I'm just going to use one of my test emails. I'll click on subscribe. And now we'll see our success message which says, "Thank you for subscribing." All right, so let's go to MailChimp to see if our lead was captured. And we are already in our contacts page. We'll refresh. And now if we look all the way at the bottom, we'll see our lead. Over on the right, we can see the tag that we applied. All right, now moving on, we're going to go ahead and set up email automation for this integration. We'll click on Add New, then Email Automation. We'll use a simple title, which is C1, and our type will be New Post Notification. Now we'll go ahead and use the Lucid template, and that's going to open the email builder, which is quite similar to the opt-in builder. So in the main part of the page, we'll see a preview of our email, and on the left-hand side, we'll see our configuration options. So we'll start by exploring the settings tab, and here we can see our automation title. We have our email subject, and this can be configured with placeholders. So our subject will basically say new post and then the title of that post. In addition, you can add preview text. We can select our content type. There's post content and post excerpt. Let's adjust our content length to 50. Let's go back and select post excerpt. We'll see that adjustment with the read more button added. So our post type is going to be WordPress posts, and we won't need to restrict any formats, post categories, or post tags, or post authors. Now under recipient, we'll select a connection, and that will be MailChimp. Now once again, we'll need to choose an email list. We only have one. And this is not mandatory, but if you want to, you can always go ahead and select a MailChimp segment. We'll move on to the schedule tab. And here I'm going to select send immediately. And that's it for our main configuration. Now, of course, you want to style your email, so you can go back and move on to body. And in here, you can change your background color and add custom CSS. For example, I can make this blue. And this option affects these two areas. In addition to that, we have options to customize our header. So for example, in the General tab, we can choose to remove our header by toggling this switch. We can add a logo and change our header text. There's a Styling tab as well to customize your colors. So let's change the color of our header text. Let's make it white. And maybe we can make the link white as well. All right, I think that's fine. So let's move back. And now we're going to go into our Content tab. So here we can see the general options for our content section. And in the Styling tab, we'll be able to customize our content's style. And as an example, we'll change the color of our button to blue. Now moving back, we have our footer options. So here we have our general options, and we also have a Style tab. Moving on, we'll go to the Preview tab, and this is where we can change the preview post. So shortly we'll see what another one looks like. There it is. I think it's fine. And finally, if we want to, we can send a test email. All right, let's save our changes, and let's also turn the opt-in on. And we can now exit out of this as well. And right now we're going to create a new post to see if we get the notification. So I'm going to paste some random text to create a post. We have a text and title, and all we need to do right now is select a featured image from our gallery. We'll use this one, and now we can publish the post. And once it's published, we'll see what it looks like in the email. So here it is. This is our post notification based on the settings that we configured. And if we take a look at the bottom, we'll see our MailChimp logo, as this is the integration that we're using. Now let's see what happens if we click on the Read More button. Okay, so here we have our post opening in a new window. All right, so in addition to a new post notification, you can also create an email digest. I'm going to click on Add New. And once again, we're going to set up email automation. We'll need to add a title. I'm going to call this Example, and the type will be Post Email Digest. We'll use the Lucid template. And once again, we'll see a preview of our email here with our settings on the left-hand side. So the setup is basically the same as what we saw previously. If we go to settings, we'll see our automation title and our email subject. It says roundup of latest posts. Of course, that could be changed. I'm going to change the maximum number of posts to something like 9. We'll change our post content type to post excerpt. We'll keep the content length at 60, but we're not going to restrict any formats or categories and so on. Now in the recipient section, we'll select a connection. And once again, I'm going to select MailChimp from this menu. Again, we only have one email list, so this is the one I'm going to use. We don't need to select a segment. And the final thing we'll need to do here is select a schedule. So you can use these options to select exactly when you'd like your email digest to be sent out. Now, once again, you can go through the remaining options in the menu to customize your email. And the options that we have here are quite similar to what we saw in the new post notification example. If you're done, you can go ahead and save your changes. And if you want to, you can always go ahead and send yourself a test email. All right, so we have come to the end of our tutorial. I really hope you found this video helpful. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.